Hey guys, wanted to make a video about some things that have been on my mind. And one of the big things that's been on my mind is what a strange timeline that we're living in right now. And the big thing that I've been thinking about is how people have changed. People are more on edge, people aren't connecting anymore. There's just something in the air. It's not the same. Everybody can feel it. And I think you probably feel it too. If you do, I want to hear your comments on what I say in this video because it's starting to get scary, to be honest, how divided everyone is. This right now basically feels like I was dropped off on another planet. So if aliens drop me off on another planet from the one that I grew up in, it's like a completely different planet. It's a completely different timeline. And I've noticed that this has been happening, probably for 10 years, but it's been happening a lot longer than that. It's been a slow roll. But I'm telling you that it has gotten much worse recently, much worse in the last 10 years. And people a lot of times, I think, want to blame it all on politics or something. We're all this against this. I think personally that this is a lot deeper than politics. I think this is something on a humanity level. There's something going on here that is cultural, that is technological, and I'm going to try to cover all of that in this video, but there's a lot more going on than the kind of division we get with politics, whatever your politics are. But the way I've been feeling is just I feel alone, I guess is the way to put it. And I'm an introvert, so hey, I like being alone. That's good. But when there's zero connection available, it starts to get weird. And you start to feel like everyone's a little bit crazy and you're the only sane one. And I want to know if anybody else out there feels that way. Because there's, like I said, a difference between being an introvert and being isolated without any chance of connection, where other people almost seem to dislike you because you're a stranger or for whatever reason. It's just kind of weird. So the thing I wanted to say, though, people are generally rude. Now, I know that sounds a little harsh, but I've noticed so much, especially, like I said, in the last 10 years, I've noticed so much distrust in people. And it is like we're being split apart. And I'm the type of person that, say I go to the store, wherever I go, I smile at people. I'm pretty kind to people, or I try to be kind to people. I care about their feelings. And anymore, I go to the store and people just glare at me. Like if I say hi to them or I smile at them, they just look at me. And for somebody like me, that hurts me. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not trying to be, all emotional here, but it does bother me to live in a world like that. And it makes me dread going out in public. And I end up staying in more probably than I should. And it makes me dread going to the grocery store because going out in public seems hostile. It seems like you're going into hostile territory. And a lot of times I'll wear sunglasses, which is kind of funny, because you're wearing sunglasses in the store. But it's one of those things where I almost just want to get in, I want to get out. And I've noticed that this has went over into like services. So a lot of times you go get something done or you call somebody to do something, whether that's a plumber or whether that's getting your oil changed, and you almost don't trust that they did the thing. It's like when I get home from my oil change, now I want to check my oil and see if it's clear because I have this idea by the way they treated me and by the way things have went over the last 10, 20 years, I have this idea that they didn't even do anything. that maybe they didn't even change my oil. I don't trust them. So I still try to hold doors open for people. I still try to get out of people's way, but it gets exhausting to go out in public when people are so at odds and really kind of rude. I've also noticed that if you're in, say, a large group, any kind of large group, just imagine any kind of large group that you can imagine that you go to a place. I've noticed that about, and this is awful that I've actually thought about the numbers, but you can probably count on 90% of people being rude and unwelcoming towards you. If you go into a big group, you can pretty much count on 90% of people being rude. Like if you smile at them, they just look at you. They're not kind. They're not welcoming. They act like, what is this guy doing here? Those kind of things. So that's another thing that I've noticed. I've got a lot of things on my mind that I've noticed. Another one that I've been thinking about is friendship. So I'm a man who's at a certain age, and it seems like once you get past your 30s, and this is talking about men and women, it seems like friendships are just starting to go away. And you can't really have a deep friendship anymore. And it seems like I relate to pretty much no one, and that nobody's looking for a friend, and that's sad. It's something that I've had to live with over the years. There's just not a lot of people who like to talk about the things I like to talk about. Sometimes those topics are deeper, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later in the video. I also wanted to talk about the fact that people seem to be literally glued to their phone these days. And I always hear about these implants that they're going to have in the future. They're going to put an implant in your brain and you won't need your phone anymore. It'll always be with you. Well, I'd like to know who really needs that, because I think we're already there as a society. I think people are pretty much already have implants. They already carry their phone everywhere they go, and they're getting literal neck problems from looking down at their phone so much. And while I'm not opposed to technology, look, I'm on social media right now, but it seems like at some point it's going too far. And I read a comment on another video, and it said social media has made us anything but social. And I totally agree with that. I think that we as a society have leaned into this technology thing way too much, and that we should really put on the brakes. It's like in Jurassic Park, when really that park never should have been built, but just because they could build it, they did, and they couldn't stop themselves, and it turned into a disaster. I feel like that's where we're heading. I feel like with all the technology that's being brought about right now, we are heading towards a Jurassic Park incident. And I'm not sure if that's what I'm feeling in the world, and I'm not sure if the panic is what's causing people to act the way they're acting, but that actually seems like a plausible explanation, because I just don't see all this technology separating us and putting everything online where we're not face-to-face anymore. I don't see that as a good thing. And this is coming from an introvert. This is coming, again, from somebody who stays in a lot and enjoys it. I stayed in during the pandemic, and it was some kind of break for me, actually, getting away. And I think it was because I was getting away from all that rudeness, all that hostility that happened during the pandemic. People are just not receptive to people, especially if you're a little bit different. If you like to think deep, like me, you like deep conversation. You don't just like talking about, sports and the weather or whatever. And that leads me over to what I see as the lack of critical thinking. And there is just a real lack of critical thinking out there in the world now. So if you do think critically, if you do think logically, then you're going to be automatically rejected as some kind of outcast. And that's very strange because that's a great thing that you think logically. It's a great thing that you are a critical thinker, that you're skeptical in some ways of the media or whatever. It's a good thing. But it's not a good thing out there if you want to fit in. It seems like people, they don't want to think for themselves anymore, and they've basically outsourced their thinking to the media or to politicians or whatever. And if you think for yourself, like I said, you're an outcast. So just tons and tons and tons of herd mentality going on out there. And if you doubt the herd, you don't want to follow along with the herd, people are just not going to accept you in this modern culture. And the other thing is, people may have always been this way in a sense. In fact, history tells us that they have always been this way to a certain degree. But it seems like now people have more permission to do things openly than they ever have in the past. And I think that's because of the charlatans out there that are brainwashing people. And so we have this social media that can put out all these messages of brainwashing, and I think that's happening like it never has before. And I think that's a bad combo. To have charlatans and social media combined with people who have a herd mentality and want to follow, I think that's a bad thing. So if you're seeing that out there, just know I see it too. You're not crazy. Nothing's wrong with you. In fact, everything may be right with you. And I think the solution overall is we need more love, and we need to be kinder to people, our neighbors, the people around us. I think that would really fix most of the problems if we respected and treated each other with love. And if you want to join a group of friends who are interested in talking about these things and making these deeper truths known, then I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing to the Introvert Circle. And put down in the comments what you think about all this. What do you think's causing this? What do you think is the root cause of this condition? I'm interested to hear from you. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you in the next video.